on the East Coast, and depending on where you are in the world, maybe even good morning or good night. So hopefully you'll be able to go to bed soon if that is the case. We're really glad that you all have joined us today. This is actually the last official virtual session before the February 7th deadline. We will, of course, the SEP team make ourselves available on February 6th just to sort of support with some technical issues that may come up. But again, I would encourage you, if you can, to just go ahead and get the application submitted. We all know that technology works its worst when it's under pressure, when we are under pressure, I'll say. And so I'll go ahead and get it started. My name is Kristen Shannon. I may be a new face for most of you all on the call, and that's because I recently joined the Rangel team at Howard. I've actually worked on a lot of different international fellowships at the K-12 level, at the university level, and most recently on the Mandela Washington Fellowship for Young African Leaders over at IREC. So I'm super excited to be here. I'll be leading various aspects of the SEP program. So I really just want to get us started with a few quick slides. But before that, Bumi, I do, because I can't allow the moment to go by without you, I guess, reintroducing yourself to the group.
You need to cue in Jay-Z for that one. But yes, I'm Bumi Akinisotu, the Deputy Director of the Rangel Program. Really excited to see some familiar faces as well. And thank you to William, Tristan, and Kelly for joining us this evening to talk about their experiences. It's going to be a great conversation. And thank you all for being with us tonight.
Great. And we do just have a few quick slides. I wanted to give you all a refresher on what SEP is and some of the aspects that would be good to keep in mind as you wrap up your application. Great. So the next slide, please. Awesome. So what is the Summer Enrichment Program? What is the key purpose here? And there are three key points that I can highlight to this point. One, of course, it's about cultivating a deeper appreciation of current issues, trends in international affairs, as well, of course, a deeper understanding of the different opportunities that are available in this space. And something that we'll take point to this summer, of course, through coursework, site visits, and different networking opportunities that you'll have access to, is making sure that you're actually developing the practical skills to enter into these careers in the international affairs space. Next slide, please. Great. And this is why we're here today, right? The actual Rangel Scholar experience. So what does it look like? The first point, of course, there are actually two courses as well as a seminar involved in the summer programming. There's one class dealing with the political economy. So this is understanding a bit more about who the key actors are in the international space. This could be the IMF, the World Bank, understanding a lot more about why the US acts the way it does on the global stage when it comes to different finances. And of course, also understanding some of the key themes in econ as well. I know this program is sector and major agnostic. And so we want to make sure that folks are grounded in a similar understanding of econ, as that is an important aspect of international affairs as well. You know, if you're interested in becoming a foreign service officer, this is key information to bear in mind. Something else that participants will have access to is a course titled The History of the U.S. Foreign Relations Since 19th Century. A lot of IR majors may have taken similar courses before, but this is to make sure you all are on similar footing. You understand who the key actors are in this space. What are some of the key historical moments that continue to influence U.S. foreign policy and our policy overall towards other countries? There'll also be a writing seminar. And this is really to prepare you for the different types of writing, not only for the foreign service, but other careers in international relations. And just in general, writing is one of those things that will follow you wherever you go. You're always going to have to write. And so this is really making sure that you're agile with that. And that also too, we're going to try to be a little bit creative this summer. You know, writing itself as a field shifts, right? You have blogs, social media. We want to make sure that you guys are also equipping yourself with writing skills to keep up with the times as well. So one of the exciting aspects of SEP as well, you know, of course, the Summer Enrichment Program, we use a lot of acronyms, is different site visits throughout the city. We'll be in DC, which of course is very exciting. So we'll make sure you get to rub elbows with key actors in the space, with others at the Howard University community, and make sure that you get a taste of DC while you're here as well. And to that point, I did want to remind you all that during the program, which is 6 weeks long, scholars will actually be housed at Howard University in a dorm. So you'll get sort of the full Howard experience. We'll make sure you have an opportunity to connect with different department chairs, different students, and just really kind of soak up that experience. In addition to room and board, the Rangel team will also be providing a stipend for you to buy meals and just get around in the city. And we're also covering 100% the tuition involved in enrolling in those 2 courses that I mentioned before. Next slide. So I'll kind of gloss over this in broad strokes. These are some of the key aspects of the application that you'll need to submit, right? So an interest statement, this is really where you can let the selection panel know why it is that you're interested in this program. What are you bringing to the table, but also what do you hope to get out of it? And even if it's not necessarily a career rather at the State Department, what interests you about international affairs and how are you hoping to leverage this opportunity? Something that's new this year is the financial needs statement. This is just where you can write about your condition and any of your familial circumstances, but it's not heavily weighted. It's a new aspect. So don't feel like this, how you respond to this will make or break your selection. We'll also need a proof of your registration for spring 2023, as well as transcripts and 2 letters of recommendation. And something for those of you who attended the last session that is important to keep in mind is make sure you get an early start. If you have not yet reached out to your recommenders, after this session is over, maybe even while I'm talking, just go ahead and shoot them an email and make sure that they're getting the ball rolling on that, because it is a time-consuming process and you do want it to be a collaborative effort as well, making sure that they're able to highlight the best aspects of yourself for the application. We'll also need proof of US citizenship and of course transcripts from the different universities that you've attended. Any questions? I don't think I see any hands. Great.
Kristen, I have one question in the chat. It says, is this opportunity only for students with financial need? Maybe you can touch on that a little bit more for the audience.
Sure. So the quick answer is no. Really, the gist of this program is to ensure that the opportunity is diverse and as accessible as possible. And as I mentioned before, it is a new aspect of the application as well. So we definitely don't want to sort of block out anyone just from that one aspect of the application. It really is a holistic review process. And I can speak as somebody who's been working with the selection panel and, creating all the rubrics and tools in conjunction with the team. It really is a thorough process. And you have various opportunities. Maybe if you're not able to fully capture it in your interest statement, maybe your recommendation can boost you up and someone else can talk about you a bit better. So it really is a full process. And it looks like I see a few other things come through the chat.
Yes, I see. Do you have to be full-time student have to be a full-time student in order to apply, or could you be part-time for the spring of 2023?
And Boomy, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe you have to be full-time status to apply.
That's correct.
Great.
What are the key aspects of an application that causes an applicant to be selected?
Trinity, I have to be honest, I'm not sure I can give you that competitive edge. What I will say, if you haven't already, if you go on the Rangel website, you go in the steps section, we've actually curated a YouTube playlist of all the recordings for previous webinars. And there are a lot of good sessions from former Rangel scholars where they talk about their application process, different ways that they wrote their interest statements, different ways that they worked with recommenders. So I think those personal insights could help you as you go through the application process yourself. And then of course, if you go on the website, you'll see a bit more about what the program entails and what it is that we're looking for.
And I would also add just high level, make sure that your application is scrubbed for grammar. So, grammar, spelling, punctuation, all of that should be top notch in your various statements that you're writing. Be sure that you are reading the prompts that are provided in the application for each one of these statements. We have specific sort of prompts for these items and answer the questions that are provided to you. Really think deeply about why you want to apply and connect the dots for the panel members. And maybe this is something that Kelly can talk about later on, because Kelly's been on the panel, but you want to be sure that you connect the dots in your personal statement as to why this program in particular is of interest to you beyond the financial support that's afforded to all of the applicants. And same thing, maybe Tristan and William can also share their feedback on how they put together competitive winning application as well. But yes, to Kristen's point, on our YouTube page, we have several videos that look through each of the various talk through the various components of the application from different perspectives, from the panel member perspective, from the scholar perspective, et cetera, et cetera. And then there's a question, if you graduate spring 2023, are you still able to apply?
I believe the answer is yes.
Yes, you are. If you graduate spring 2023, you can apply. All right. Let's see. Keantria asks, in the application, it only allows for 2 recommendations. Am I missing one? Keantria, if you are looking to, or for anybody, if you've already started your application and you want to track the progress of what your recommenders are doing, you can actually log into your application, check the recommender tab, and then if they've submitted it, it'll say in green, like recommendation submitted. If they haven't, it'll say awaiting letter or awaiting recommendation. So you want to go into your application now while you still can make edits and changes and take a look at what's happening with your recommenders and reach out to them if necessary. All of the materials are due by the deadline, so your recommenders have to submit everything by the 7th. Your transcripts have to be in, everything has to be submitted by the 7th at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Great. I think that's the last question I saw in the chat. And then just for the next slide, we've included here just a reminder. Of course, the deadline is February 7th, just before midnight. So again, don't wait to the last minute. And this year we will be selecting 15 scholars. All this information is on the website, but just as a reminder, we will be sending out selection notifications from mid through late March. So whatever email you use to apply, be sure to be checking junk and just consistently track messaging from the Rangel program team. Great. Next slide. Awesome. And so thank you all for bearing with us as we run through sort of that quick SEP refresher. But I think really what brings us here today is our awesome knockout Rangel Scholar alumni. And so first, I'll go ahead and provide a quick introduction to Kelly Winston, who I see here on camera today. Thank you, Kelly. So Kelly is a 2008 Rangel Scholar and a 2011 Rangel Graduate Fellow. So she's done the whole Rangel spectrum. She joined the Foreign Service in 2014 and currently works as a Gender and Entrepreneurship Officer in the Bureau for African Affairs. So Kelly, thank you so much for being here. And I think I saw William join us, if he's on camera. Awesome, thanks, William. And so William Ortiz is a 2019 scholar and currently serves as an employment supervisor for the International Rescue Committee. William has also worked in other issues related to migrant advocacy, as well as humanitarian focused foreign and domestic policy, and just several other capacities. I'm really excited. Our third guest today that we're joined is Tristan, who's on camera. Tristan is actually a part of the most recent Rangel Scholar cohort in 2022. He's an aspiring Foreign Service officer, and I actually think I heard a career update just now from him before we joined the call today. So excited to learn more about that. But Tristan currently serves as an undergraduate research fellow at the Louisville Center for Asian Democracy. So really exciting and impressive profiles here today. And I think I'll start us off with a round of questions, and then we'll leave some time towards the end for you all. We have a pretty strong audience here to pose some questions to our guests as well. So for Tristan, Kelly, and William, the first question I'm curious to know, and feel free to speak up in whatever order, is what ultimately motivated you to apply for the Summer Enrichment Program? What were you hoping to leverage from the opportunity?
Yeah, I can kick things off. So first off, really happy to be here, everyone. Glad to see so many students looking to participate in this year's Summer Enrichment Program. I've encouraged a lot of people since I became an alumni. Hey, this is an incredible program. It was really a life-changing and life-affirming summer for me. So just a little bit of background about me. My interest in international affairs started back in high school. I had the opportunity to study abroad in Indonesia through another State Department program, the National Security Language Initiative for Youth, which is targeted at students looking to acquire critical languages, languages that are important to national security interests. And so I applied for that program as a junior and was able to travel there that summer. And that was really my first exposure to, what a U.S. embassy was, what a foreign service officer was. And in some of those conversations I had, I started to realize, wow, this is a career that combines a lot of different passions of mine: people, politics, travel, all these different, elements that I wanted to have in a career, all packaged in, being an FSO essentially. And so, I did research, coming into college about what programs would help me, sort of follow that path. And Rangel was one of the first that I came across. And, looking at, my eligibility for the SEP, I knew that it was something that I wanted to do. In terms of leveraging, some of the opportunities and benefits from the summer, really just increasing your knowledge of the opportunities available to you. Coming into last summer's SEP, I thought I knew, and had a good idea about what opportunities were available in the field, but I quickly realized I was only looking at the teensiest tip of what is a very large iceberg of different opportunities and career possibilities. So, having so many different representatives from the public, private, and NGO sector come and speak to us over the course of the summer, really gave me more confidence in knowing, hey, even if I don't, graduate and immediately get hired at the State Department, that's sort of a lofty goal. That's not the traditional pathway for a lot of people. I now have the knowledge that there are so many other opportunities out there that are available to students like us who are interested in this sort of work. So that was definitely one of the biggest takeaways for me. All my expectations were blown away though. Joining this network of people who all have, a similar interest and desire to, for public service and helping to change the world. It's really just an incredibly inspiring group of people. And, I'm so grateful to be a part of the Rangel network. So I'm really glad to see so many people, applying this year, and wish you all the best of luck. But, definitely just knowing what your options are. As students, it's easy to get, sort of tunnel vision on, I have to do this, I have to become a lawyer, or, a financial banker, whatever it is. But, Rangel really shows you that there's so many different pathways out there. You can't possibly anticipate what yours is going to look like. So good luck.
Yeah, thank you, Tristan, for sharing that. I'd actually also like to follow up on that answer and give a little bit of my perspective of why I chose to apply and participate in the Rangel Scholar program. Is that when I was a college student, I personally was a first generation low income college student. So when I started my undergrad experience, my idea of what college and the university experience was simply go to class, get my degree, get a job. I did not know what an internship was. I did not know what opportunities were available to me. So by the time I did start to realize that it's not just going to classes and getting a job post-graduation, I was already about in my junior going into the senior year. So when I applied for the Summer Enrichment Program, I ended up coming in as one of the scholars that were post-graduation. So I did the summer following my spring semester. So really what it did was help me, kind of like what Tristan was saying, is expanding your knowledge what your options are. Because I was always interested in foreign policy, migration issues. Those were always my academic and passion interests, but I didn't know what the extent of what I can do in that field was. In the same way that I didn't know what an internship was, even my sophomore, freshman year, this program did the same thing in expanding my knowledge professionally. Post-graduation, I learned about the Department of State, federal government, what the difference between a civil servant and a foreign servant and the foreign services. These are all things that you may not necessarily know going into your undergraduate experience, but participating in this program is going to give you that knowledge to then figure out what you want to do in that future. And of course, gives you a lot of great information for the Rangel Fellowship, if that interests you post scholarship as well.
And then I can just follow up quickly. Some of the reasons that I applied are very similar to Tristan and to William. But I will say I did the scholars program in between my sophomore and junior year. And then the first semester of my junior year, I was going abroad, but I had to leave in like July or August, early August or something like that. So it was kind of very like a logistical approach. And also I wanted to do something that wasn't with the current job that I had. And I didn't want to go back to the high school job that I had, in between when the semester ended and then my study abroad began. So I found the scholar program and this is good. And the timing is great as well. And then I'm not even going to lie that stipend was the cherry on top because if we're all honest, we're students and we know how this goes. So, it was nice to have a little bit of money, especially as I was going abroad for the next semester. But the scholars program, it really aligned with what I was doing. I was an international studies major at Spelman College. And, the classes that I took there, political economy, the diplomatic history, writing, all of that, it just really fed into what I was already doing academically. And for me, and I didn't know this at the time when I applied, but I was able to transfer credits from Howard during that summer program back to Spelman. And ultimately that helped me graduate a semester early, which saved me, a whole semester of paying tuition, room and board, et cetera. But I think Tristan kind of mentioned, both William and Tristan actually mentioned this, just how the program expands your knowledge of what's available in international relations. I got a book. I don't know where it is these days. Like it's still being printed, Careers in International. Yes, that one. Mine does not look like that. And I think, that was eye-opening to me in addition to everything that, we were exposed to during the program. And I came in as a Rangel Scholar wanting to be an international human rights lawyer. Didn't know anything about the Foreign Service. I was like, whatever, I'm going to be a lawyer. I'm going to be out here changing lives, making a difference, in kind of the legal field. And then I learned about the Foreign Service. So here I am, a few years, I'm just going to say a few years later. Like Kristen said, I was a Rangel Fellow. I also did Fulbright, so we can talk about that as well. But, and I've been in the Foreign Service for about 8.5 years now. So clearly it's a life-changing experience. I don't think I would be here if I didn't know about the Scholars Program.
Great. I loved hearing the different responses because you all were really in different places in your lives when you applied, different places academically, different levels of understanding with international affairs and how to leverage the opportunity. And I think if I could go back to the application process, was there any aspect of it that you all really struggled with? And I'm curious to know how you overcame it.
I mean, I think I can just say something really quickly, but for me, it was more of time, just time management, because, I was a full-time student. I was working in an office off campus and, also just trying to be active and have a life. And just, it was really hard for me to just carve out time to not only do my application, like, to write the personal statement and to work with my recommenders, but to spend that time to also go back and get feedback from other people and incorporate that feedback and create this package that made sense and that I felt really painted an accurate picture of me. And I will say, like, because it was a time issue, I definitely had to be a little more diligent about what I was doing. Setting rules like, oh, okay, I can't go out until, I spend an hour doing my application, for example. So those are some of the things that I did for me, but for me, it was time was a big issue.
Yeah, I'd say for me, one of the more challenging parts of the application process was getting my personal statement or statement of interest within the word limit. When you're down to 500 or some of those 250 word essays, that's tough. As students, we've all dealt with that, I'm sure. And this was definitely no exception, especially when it was something I was so passionate about. And I knew that this program would be, a really useful springboard for me. Trying to fit all that into a really concise, well-formatted essay can be difficult. And I'll say that is one of the biggest benefits of participating in the Rangel, SCP program is the writing seminar that we take and some of the writing assignments that you do in the other two courses. We really learned how to tailor our writing to different programs and being able to sort of decipher, okay, what is this program looking for that this one isn't, or being able to just sort of tweak your essays and how you word things and how you market and present yourself, and your abilities and your interests. That's one of the big benefits that has really changed things for me. I went from stressing over, oh my God, I'm at 800 words and I need to get to 500 in the next couple of weeks, to, okay, I know how to, from the jump, sort of word things in a more concise format. So, definitely a big benefit of the program there. I would say, being really judicious with your writing, having multiple people look at it. I'm a big advocate of Grammarly and some of those other, sort of proofreading algorithms that, give you suggestions. And you're writing for a different audience than your English teacher. So don't feel like you have to use a bunch of alliteration and flowery verbiage and stuff. I've always been guilty of that because you get taught how to write a 3.8 paragraph in middle school and high school. And then you get out in the real world, and job applications are a completely different format. So, don't worry about what you're saying so much as how you're saying it. And, just figure out how to, sort of show your true self, even in that short format. It takes time, but putting in that time is what gets you into these programs. Like Kelly said, we're all or at least I'm still an undergraduate student. I know what it's like having multiple pressures and responsibilities, partying, social life, all these different things. If you want to do these type of programs, they have to be your priority. And there were many nights that I was locked in the library hammering out essays on a Friday night instead of going to the game or out with friends. And that's why I'm where I'm at in life. And, I've gotten these opportunities coming my way. So just, take the time to really condense things as much as you can. You guys will figure it out.
I'll add that my biggest struggle was not so much on the writing portion, but actually just simply choosing who should be the best person to write my letters of recommendation. Because when I was in college, I know my colleagues sometimes get a little tunnel vision on, oh, I want this person who has the like really flashy title, the head of this department or the director of this organization. I know who they are, they know who I am, like I should ask them for a letter of recommendation. But at least in my case, I was struggling to pick who was the best person who really knew who I was, who I wanted out of who they knew what I wanted out of life and what I would have wanted to get out of this program. They knew my work ethic. So trying to find that balance between who knows me the best, who knows my work ethic from, I'll say, the internships that I did do my junior and senior year, as well as getting a balance of professors from my university to do my letter of recommendations. I would say from that experience, I would then pass on to you as to finding that like healthy balance of who's going to be the best person to write your letters of recommendation.
Awesome. And I think a lot of what you all have shared, quite honestly, applies to a lot of applications in general. The value of concise writing, the value of understanding yourself, the value of starting early and getting the recommender who really knows you and can speak to you. So I think, I'm taking notes myself as well. This is good feedback. I'm excited to switch gears. I've actually never gone through a full SEP summer. So I wanted to make sure I get into actual summer programming experience. What does it look like to be at Howard University for 6 weeks, to be doing all these different site visits, to be taking classes? And so the first question I want to ask on this topic is, what was your actual favorite aspect of the STEP opportunity? This could be a site visit. It could be maybe a specific lesson or class session, maybe an interesting discussion popped up. I'm curious to hear your reflections on this.
Site visits are 100% the best aspect, in my opinion, of the program. There's really no, again, for me, like, I didn't have internship experience prior in DC or anything like that. My goal was to participate in the program so that I can get that introduction to what it's like to be in DC and look at these government buildings and learn about them. So to be in the Department of State for the first time, phenomenal experience. Getting to tour the Central Intelligence Agency, getting to tour UNDP, United Nations Agency, and all of these, and of course the Capitol building. Seeing all these places was a phenomenal experience, just to soak it in and enjoy it, but then also learn about it, learn about who are the people that work in there, meet them face to face and have those conversations with them about the work they do, and then even network with them while you're in there. The site visits are absolutely best part of the program.
I have a different best part of the program. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Tristan.
No, I didn't want to cut you off, Kelly. Do your thing. You're all good.
Okay, I'm gonna do my thing. Anyways, so I will say for sure, like, one of the most interesting parts was like learning about the different type of careers. But for me, the best part was honestly the time spent with my fellow scholars. Like, hands down, that was the best. And like, that was, and it sounds super cliche, and I'm sorry for being cliche, but it was like one of my best summers in my life, like top 5, easy. It was amazing.
That's a lot of pressure, Kelly. That's a lot of pressure. That's a lot of pressure. Sheesh.
I'll second what both Kelly and William said. The site visits are amazing. Having a picture from the CIA, mind-blowing. But I'll really say it's impossible to pick like the objective best part. The entire summer is so incredible that each and every day there was something that I was like, wow, this conversation, this person, this place we visited, just blew me away or changed the way I thought about something or the way I perceive the world. I'll say another one, in addition to the site visits and the friendships you make, one of the biggest benefits for me was definitely being able to hear from all the different speakers and representatives who came, to talk to us throughout the summer. Having, the opportunity, a really rare opportunity and a privilege to be able to pick the brain of former ambassadors, current FSOs. I'm like homies with a guy who's a reporter for Vox Media now because he came and spoke to us. Like, the LinkedIn connections you get, y'all, are next level. And those networking opportunities are something that I really, wanted to make the most of. Where I come from, I'm from a small town in rural Kentucky. I love Louisville and my university, but we don't have a ton of former ambassadors running around the streets here. I'm not in New York or Los Angeles or DC or any of the big cities. So being in the same room as these people who have been all over the country, all over the world, doing this incredible work, and having 45 minutes or an hour to sit and listen to their stories and be able to ask them questions, that really resonated with me, and definitely, like I said at the start, affirm my confidence that even if it's not the State Department, I'm going to find a place that I fit in and where I belong in a position that, appeals to me and my interests. So you just get to soak in so much knowledge. And, my parents have always told me, go be a sponge, soak up as much as you can. And the SEP program is the perfect opportunity to do that.
Hear, hear. Those were some really good responses, and no pressure at all, like Bumi says. We're currently, working to match previous summers. So the bar is, heaven right now. So I do have a few more questions for you all, but in the interest of time, I do want to open it up actually to those on the webinar now. So feel free to raise your hand if you're comfortable to come off camera. And we already have a hand here. If you're not comfortable coming on camera, feel free to also do it in the chat. Emanuela, I think, is the first hand.
Yes, hello. Can you please hear me?
Yes.
Hi, unfortunately my camera is not working, but I will try to say my question, if that's okay. So my question is, during that 6 weeks that you did spend on Howard's campus, what were the struggles that you faced and how did you overcome them? And also, when you left the program, what are the lessons that you took away from the program that helped you with challenges related to the career that you wanted to go into or the opportunities that you wanted to pursue? How did you get over those challenges?
I can get started on this one. Thank you for the question. I always like when people ask about challenges. That was one of the things that I did this summer, was asking, hey, what's the most difficult part of your job or your career? Because you really get to sort of cut through and, hear about, adversity and how people overcome that. It's a really valuable thing. As far as challenges during the 6 weeks go, it's no joke. The classes are not just a little, casual, whatever. You're writing essays, doing economic research. You've got the writing seminar where, hey, tomorrow turn in a Fulbright essay. Whoa, you have to be on your A game. And I'll say this, like I mentioned, I'm still a current undergrad. After 2 years of COVID, I was used to really lax assignments, and being in the classroom, was sort of, it felt like you were a part-time student. You guys know what I mean. But getting on Howard's campus was really my first full semester, you could say, of like in-person classes, waking up at 7:30, 8 a.m., going to class for a few hours, and then having a full day after that. Like, man, I was dragging. So during that time, I'll tell you how I overcame it was me and the other scholars that I was with, we leaned on each other. We'd get study groups together to where late at night, I'm really not feeling Dr. Swinton's econ assignment right now. But yeah, there was a whole lot of running going on and hitting the gym together, taking care of each other physically, academically, all this. And I believe you asked about after the program, some of the takeaways and how we've dealt with some of the adversity that might have come up since then. Again, it's been leaning on that community of people who I consider to be best friends now. And if I'm dealing with something or, having some self-doubt, texting, one of my, homies from the summer, hey man, can you call right now? And I've had a lot of, text conversations, phone conversations with people, just hyping each other up because, we know what we're all capable of. And it's easy when you're separated from all those sources of inspiration to sort of, fall back on bad habits or get that sort of imposter syndrome, creeping in. But being able to, stay in contact with the people that you met through the summer, we can get each other through any obstacle that comes our way.
Okay. Oh, sorry. I keep doing it. I'm just going to stop talking until someone calls on me.
No, please go ahead, Kelly.
I used to be a teacher, so I can wait. It's fine. But for me, I'm just going to start with the challenges. They're kind of similar to Tristan's, but and it's ironic now, I'm an economics officer in the Foreign Service now. But I struggled with economics. I was always interested in it. It just wasn't like the thing that came super naturally to me. And so that political economy class, man, like it was a struggle. Okay, it was a struggle. So that was a big challenge for me, and just having to lean on classmates to be comfortable reaching out to this instructor that I'm only going to be around for 6 weeks. And it worked out in the end. I also did have some kind of small health challenges during that time as well, and just trying to remind myself, to stay positive and stay focused, and and just lean on people when I could. But after the program, and actually some of the things that I learned during the program that I really took back with me, and one of them is being that after undergrad, you don't have to go straight to grad school. you can take a break. And if you do want to go to grad school, you can go. If you don't, then that's fine. And that really hit home for me because we hear this narrative that if you take a break, you're not going to go back to school. And it's not true. You know, I took a break, I went back to school, it was fine. So that was really important to me, something that I took forward. Thanks.
So the biggest struggle that I experienced during the program is similar to what Tristan was sharing with his experiences. It's just time management, because you have the classes, you have the site visits, you have hanging out with your fellow scholars. It's a lot to balance on a day-to-day basis, and every day is going to be different. But I would like to share a piece of advice that I specifically did during my Rangel experience, and I've shared it with other potential scholars in similar information sessions before, is that your time management needs to be excellent, but also take advantage of the opportunity. This is a very short program. It's just for the summer. So what I did is I didn't really have any time to sleep in at all. I woke up very early every single morning, because even when I didn't have anything scheduled for classes or site visits that were planned by Boomy and the rest of the team, which was a rare opportunity, I then went out of my way to then go to other networking events. I had follow-up meetings with all of the people that I had met during the site visits. So if there was not a single moment when I was in DC, there wasn't a single moment where I wasn't doing anything. I wasn't relaxing. I was grinding, making the most of the experience. And I recommend that everybody else, if you end up participating in this program, you do the same, because there is a lot to learn and a lot to do from DC. And there's a lot to learn from the people that you're going to meet there. And I'm glad that I didn't relax at all, because post summer program, I think, to follow up on what Tristan was saying about imposter syndrome, I think that experience cured my imposter syndrome. I came out of it thinking to myself, like, I toured the Central Intelligence Agency and I have that photo. There's no reason why I should be scared of doing this interview for this job or anything. Like, there's a lot of great, phenomenal experiences I had in DC, and I think that really helped me see the best in myself. And I just hope for the rest of you future scholars, you do the same.
And I must say that I remember William was always dressed up, like he was dressed ready. Like we would do sessions and he would be in his suit and tie. Like, I'm going to this networking event after this. And I'm like, okay. Like he was like always ready. As we say at Howard, you stay ready so you don't have to get ready. Like he embodied that energy. So yes. And it's always hot in DC in the summertime. So I don't know how the men do it, but in the suit and tie, but they trooped through the DC heat.
Well, remember, Boomy, I'm from Florida. So when I got to DC in that hot summer, I'm like, oh my God, this feels so nice here. Oh, but the weather's still hot.
Thanks, William. This is helpful information to hear how you all leaned in on your cohort, but also it sounds like you all had your own action plans, almost like day to day. What is it? How do you want to sort of individualize and make the most out of your day? There's a SEP experience, and then there's a SEP experience for scholar to scholar. So this is good feedback. Kendall, I think you had your hand up, so feel free to come off mute.
Yeah, I think someone mentioned earlier that he was in the Asian democracy program, and that sounds very interesting to me. And I'm wondering, what are the factors you look at in the program? Like, do you look at China's influence? Do you look at Taiwan, or the role of Japan, Korea, and stuff like that?
Yeah, Kendall, that's me. So I'm a research fellow at it's the Center for Asian Democracy at the University of Louisville, where I attend school. It was really my main sort of extracurricular focus for the first couple of years of undergrad. I got in good with one of my professors who became the director of the center. And so I've done research on democratic backsliding in the Asia Pacific region. And we've also published reports on some of the different, elections going on. There was a presidential election in South Korea, the Philippines recently. And so I've done a little bit of everything research-wise with that, but it's really helped me in terms of getting those sort of tangible skills that I can then use as hopefully a future FSO. The internships that I'll be doing with the State Department in the coming summers. It's been a really valuable experience. So I would encourage everyone, whether or not you get into the SCP program, look for opportunities in your local area at your university where you can, start to develop some of those skills that you can then put on a resume, fall on in an interview and say, hey, even though I wasn't a Rangel Scholar or I didn't do Fulbright or any of these lofty titles, but hey, I worked as a research associate for my favorite professor for 2 semesters. I've published these briefings. I'm a staff writer for, this political newspaper in my hometown, things like that, that give you an opportunity to develop those skills that, you can then help market yourself with. So, always keep those opportunities in mind and be looking for them always.
All right, thank you.
Awesome. Thanks for that, Tristan. I think just to dovetail off of that, and this isn't necessarily specific to SEP, but thinking about the DC experience, but there's so many branches when I think about the UN Foundation, Lions Club, where you may make a connection with someone in DC, but do a little bit of exploration in terms of what is actually in your backyard. And of course, virtual, we tapped into that a lot during the pandemic. Really take advantage of those connections that you can make even outside of sort of the, typical DC grind. I'm not seeing any more hands, so I think I may take a selfish decision and ask another question that I have for the panel, and that is, what are some of the ways that you were able to leverage your SEP experience in that first semester back at school? I know you all were in different academic phases, so if this is applicable to you, I'm thinking about, in what ways did you notice that you were changed, when you were back in your home university and back with your regular group of friends?
I can get us started. This was very recent for me. I'm still in the process of taking my experience as a Rangel Scholar and using it to my benefit and marketing myself out in the real world, as we say. Maybe 2-3 weeks after we got back from Rangel last summer, the application for a really awesome internship program opened up. It's called the U.S. Foreign Service Internship Program, USFSIP. It's really one of the State Department's, sort of hallmark internship programs. And it's really unique in that if you're accepted, you're actually guaranteed 2 separate internships. Spoiler alert, I applied and was accepted last summer. And so I will, security clearance pending. If you all do this program, you'll figure out the rigors of getting a security clearance. But, hopefully if and when I get that, I'll be back in DC interning at the State Department this summer and then doing an internship at a U.S. embassy overseas in the summer of 2024. So this is a program I had no idea it existed. I thought I had done all this research. Like I said, I thought I knew what my opportunities and options were. But we had a representative, Marty Estelle, the director of the program, come and speak to us during SCP, put it on my radar. I went on to apply for it using a lot of the same skills that I picked up during my summer as a Rangel Scholar. So, immediately after it, I was looking at what opportunities were available to me, still as an undergrad. During the course of the summer, you hear about a lot of fellowships, career opportunities, things that are maybe 2 to 5 years down the line. But, for me, in this case, this was something that, like I said, a couple weeks after I was, putting together, cooking up another essay for this program, and it ended up being successful. So, really fortunate to be able to say that, but, just be on the lookout for all these different programs that you hear about and these different opportunities that are available to you. So that's just one example.
And I would just say with the internship program, because I'm at the State Department, we love our interns. So if you ever do have any questions about that, I would say about like working in the State Department, you can you're interested in that program, you're trying to figure out what bureau, whatever, I'm happy to tell you what's going on in the State Department. But I would say for me, how I was able to leverage my experience, as I mentioned, I went abroad soon after the program ended. I think it was probably like a couple of weeks, max a month. And I went to Peru. So I went from completely English speaking environment to a Spanish speaking environment. And I thought my Spanish was good. Learned really quickly that it wasn't that great. It was classroom Spanish. It wasn't real life Spanish. I learned real life Spanish fast, you know, but it was still a struggle. And I think for me, and some of the other panelists mentioned this, is just having that confidence, right? So it's like, okay, this is something tough right now. I feel like I'm hitting a brick wall. Like I was doing political economy, like I was doing, you know, other experience. I'm hitting this brick wall, but I know that I can break through. I just have to keep pushing. I just have to keep, you know, utilizing these skills and these resources that are available to me. And I really got that during the Rangel summer program. And like, I was really able to apply that. And when I came back from Peru, oh, my Spanish was gorgeous. It was flawless. Let me just tell you, it was amazing. So, I mean, and actually, I want to mention one more thing. It wasn't immediately after the Rangel program ended. It was a little later. I decided to apply for Fulbright after I graduated from college. And one of my fellow scholars, same year and everything, ended up being in the school in the country that I worked at. And she was there the year before me, same school. And so I was able to talk to her and get a better understanding of, you know, kind of how life was. I was in Malaysia, so how life was living in rural Malaysia. And I wouldn't have been able to make that contact if it hadn't been for the Rangel Scholar program. So I think there's just ways, and you see that kind of play out in the rest of your life and the rest of your career. And I have been out of the scholars program for 15 years. So, so I just want to say it's been great.
So I'm gonna slightly change the question since it's not necessarily as applicable to me because I didn't go back to university after I did the program because I went in as a graduating senior. So I had graduated university that spring and then did the summer program. So for me, I would say post summer program, the Rangel program certainly has a name in and out of DC. When I was searching for my opportunities and what I wanted to do next, I jumped straight into my career field. So I did not go back to university. I did not continue into grad school. I was looking for those entry-level positions in my current career field. So I ended up doing AmeriCorps Vista program. After I did my year of service, I moved to Dallas, Texas, where I'm working with the International Rescue Committee now. And I'm now the supervisor of our employment program here. Everywhere I've gone, there have been people that have known what the Rangel program is. They have been interested in my experience in it. And even those that, for example, if I'm interviewing for a job in the past, even if people who are not familiar with it, they've looked at my LinkedIn, they've read, because the experience is on my LinkedIn, and it's interesting to them. So it's always been something that my participation in the Rangel program has made me stand out amongst other candidates, and it's always been a point of follow-up on what exactly is this program if they're not already knowledgeable of it. And it's been a good experience for me to connect with and relate my experience to what I would like to do in the career paths that I've interviewed for and I'm now currently in.
Excellent. There's a lot of inspiration for myself as well, just like hearing you all talk about the different opportunities you've had and how you've been able to sort of stack the experiences to get you to the next step. I see we have a few more minutes. I want to ask maybe one more closing question, and that is this. What is one piece of advice that you have for this group on the call now of potential SEP scholars on how they can make the most out of this opportunity? And I know you've been dropping gems throughout, but what is, if there's a standout piece of advice that you can give to the group?
And Kristen, can we take Mikhail's question as well? He has his hand raised.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mikhail.
No worries, no worries. Mikhail, you want to go for it? You want to ask your question?
Oh, okay, yeah. So sorry. Yeah, I got confused there with the format. Firstly, I wanted to say thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us and answer our questions. I know that Tristan, for example, I've annoyed you in the past in person when we were both in DC. But I would love to ask, it kind of goes in with Kristen's question as well. Do you have any regrets or anything you do differently, whether that be before you submitted the application or after you got accepted? Would there be anything that you would change, or do you regret not doing something?
And if I can add a slightly different dimension for Kelly, since you were on the panel, maybe you can talk about what stood out to you with the applications as you were reviewing.
That was the angle I was going to go as well. So we're tapped in. So I will say, and I'm just going to kind of take it, from being a past reader, you really want to paint a picture. And I mentioned this kind of early on when I started talking. You want to paint a picture of who you are, why you want to do the program, and how you're going to benefit from it, and what you're going to contribute to it. And that needs to be really, really clear. We're reading so many applications, and we need to know easily, like, this is this person, and this is what makes this person unique, and this is what makes this person stand out, because everyone is like super accomplished, like incredibly accomplished. And a lot of people, will, I shouldn't say this, but a lot of people say like kind of similar things in different ways. And so you really want to be able to pinpoint that thing that, and asset makes you unique. And one way, I'm not gonna say it's one way, but one kind of extra piece of advice is, when you talk to and you approach your potential recommenders, depending on your relationship with them, you can ask them if they will benefit from you providing some bullet points. Because again, you're thinking about what is this picture that you want to paint to the application reader. And if the recommenders are interested in that, then that's great. You can provide the points, and you can just, again, create this beautiful painting that me or someone else is going to read on the other end. And last little bit, Tristan talking about that 500 word max. White space is a beautiful thing. And when you're reading a lot of applications, I'm not saying leave half the page blank, but I'm saying, if you have like a little bit of white space, that gives our eyes a break. So if you are short a line or two, like, don't stress about it. As long as you got your point across, then you'll be fine.
I'm trying to ponder some of the different questions that we've been hit with. Kristen, could you remind me, what did you ask? I was thinking about Mikhail's and sort of forgot what you were looking for.
Sure. Really, just one piece of advice that you could give to the group, just understanding that there's probably some future STEP scholars among us.
Most definitely. The word that comes to mind for me is authenticity. I cannot overstate the importance of being your authentic self. And this, I'll tie it back to one of the other questions about like the impact in like the immediate semester after I participate in the SEP. I've had friends tell me, man, Tristan, like, you're doing this incredible stuff. Like, I wish I could be in this position. I'm like, bro, you can. Like, people are asking me, what's the playbook? What do you say when you get in these rooms with the former ambassador? People with these intimidating titles, and how could I possibly connect with this person who's been to 40 countries and knows 3 presidents personally, all these, sort of imposing, qualities that you meet in some of these people. And they're just people too. They were a nervous undergrad at one point as well. I always think like, this person was in my shoes at one point. And in a lot of cases, some of us have been through more than some of these people have, like, I'd meet people who are legacy Ivy League students, and I'm like, bro, I'm a poor Black kid from the South, first gen, and I'm in the same room as some of these people. So, just believing in yourself, and, knowing that you don't have to replicate or try and, duplicate anyone else's path to success, knowing that you got yourself to this point. And if you do get yourself to DC and to Howard this summer, believe in yourself, and whatever you set your mind to, you can do it. As far as regrets go, like Mikhail asked about, I would say I wish I took more of William's approach in terms of, hey, I can sleep in another day. Let me wake up early and get out and hit the streets a little bit more. I don't live with regrets, so it's nothing that's like, nagging or anything like that. But you have to be intentional about like follow-ups. It's easy to, hey, could I get your business card? Let's connect on LinkedIn. But transcending that and going towards, hey, let's get together for coffee, or can we schedule an outside meeting? Things like that take a little bit more intentionality and time. And it's a practice. You're not going to, necessarily, get that right the first time. So just putting yourself out there saying, hey, can we please get together, making time to work around other people's schedules. It pays off because, people appreciate you taking that time to, carve out a block exclusively for them. So, if you do find yourself in DC this summer, definitely take those opportunities to meet with people outside of the program for sure.
It's honestly hard to share like what regrets I have from the program, because like Kelly was saying earlier, like it was one of my favorite summers of my life so far, and like it was an amazing time academically, personally, and career wise. But if I did have to say, at least give one piece of advice that I haven't given so far throughout the session, is don't be afraid to network. When I was a student, I heard a lot like, oh, networking is so impersonable. I hate networking. It feels fake. Kind of like what Tristan was saying is like, it's authenticity is important, and you can bring that to networking. As long as you are authentic and you know yourself, there really should be no reason to not also enjoy networking, because it doesn't have to be a transaction. If you are passionate about that work, the approach that I took was I just want to share my passion for my work and let other people know about it too. And if those people are also passionate about their work, they're going to tell me about it too. And if there can be some mutual benefit, if I can learn more about the work that they do in the future, meet up with them again for coffee or drink later, then great. But networking can also be a fun time to just get to know people and share those passions that you have.
Awesome. I think that is a perfect note to end on, honestly. Thank you so much, William, Tristan, Kelly. It's been a pleasure too for me this is actually one of my first times actually connecting with SEP alumni. So it's been a true pleasure just to hear the impacts, right, from the mouths of the people who've actually gone through the experience. And it definitely keeps me motivated. And I'm also inspired that we have such a big group today, and you've been asking really good questions. I thought I was doing something with the questions that I started us with, very thoughtful questions. And I think too, hopefully you're able to weave all these insights into your applications, and also be better prepared, those of you who do submit and are selected, that you're able to really act on the advice that you've received today. And of course, we have recorded the session. We'll be uploading it to YouTube, and just take a look and review some of the previous sessions. Anything that speaks to you that will be a value add to your process, even outside of Rangel, quite honestly, it's always a resource to you. So again, thank you all for joining us. Anything from you, Boomy? Great. So I think we
couldn't find my mute.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say thank you to Kelly, Tristan, and William. It's always great to talk to the Rangel Scholar alumni. And thank you, Kristen, for just facilitating the discussion. I wanted to ask for Kelly, William, and Tristan, is it okay if we share your LinkedIn with everybody so that they can connect with you, and you guys can decide if you want to share your email or how you want to correspond? Is it okay if we sort of drop that for everybody afterwards, like tomorrow or something?
Most definitely. I was going to, throw a comment in there. If anyone has further questions, reach out, email, LinkedIn, whatever. I'm sure myself, William, and Kelly, all the other alumni are always happy to pay it forward, give some advice. So.
Yeah,
Thank
absolutely.
you.
I've connected with people who are interested before, and I'm happy to keep doing that.
Awesome.
Thanks, y'all. I appreciate it.
Thanks, everyone.